What's up, Logic fans? Welcome to our fourth and final video on section 4.1. And what I wanted to do in this video was make sure we did some examples so you can carry out the homework and really make sure you get down these concepts of how to build these sentences using the rules QS1 through QS7. So let's just take this one at a time and we'll walk through them together. But as usual, I want to give you a chance to try it on your own. Prove that this string of symbols is in fact a quantificational sentence. That means derive it from the rules QS1 through QS7 and nothing else. Pause and give example A here a try right now. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to pause and take a look at that, all right? But this stuff isn't that bad, right? So, it's again, it's just what we did in chapter 1. So I think it was 1.7 and 1.8. Let's go ahead and start first just by getting our property constants on the board. So that's going to be QS1, and that's not on any particular line. And GB is QS1, right? And QS1 again says that any property constant appended with an individual constant and surrounded in parentheses, which we're ignoring, is in fact a quantificational sentence. So we know these two things are quantificational sentences. Now what we got to do is try to build this up. Notice you do not want to do this, so you could do this. You could say QS2, right, on line 1, and that's perfectly legitimate application of QS2, but it's not going to give us the desired thing that we want, right? The desired thing that we want doesn't have the not attached to the F. It has it attached to this whole ampersand. So what we want to do instead is we want to do FA and GB, and that's going to be QS3 on lines 1 and 2, right? So that allows us to build this whole construction right here, which is nice. All right, and you can pause this at any point and try to finish it yourself, but after this, it's just going to be FA and GB by QS2 on lines on line 3. Okay, so applying the negation rule. All right, and this is a tree that basically proves that this string of symbols here is in fact a quantificational sentence. Why? Because quantificational sentences are the things that can be developed from the rules QS1 through QS7, and we've proven that you can do that. Okay, go ahead and try B. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to pause and do it, but as usual, what I like to do, first things first, is get all my property constants on the board. So this is going to be QS1, and that's not on any particular line, but we're going to get GC, and that's going to be QS1 as well. And again, that's not on any particular line. QS1 just allows you to invoke out of nowhere, okay, not on a previous line. Then of course HT, and notice you can't get not HT right away, you have to get HT first. So this is going to be a quantificational sentence by QS1. And okay, now what we want to do is build up the different parts, and there are some ways in which you can do this differently, but some ways in which you cannot. So we'll do HT, and that's going to be QS2 on line 3, of course. Okay, and then we've got to build the antecedent up here, so we're going to do FC or GC, which is, and you could have reversed the order of these, that wouldn't have hurt anything. That would be QS4 on lines 1 and 2. Okay, and then what we want to do, of course, is we want to build the entire construction. So we're going to do FC or GC, and then we're going to do arrow, not HT. And that's by, what rule is that here? That's QS5 on lines 5 and 4. Okay, I'm not going to be too picky about the order in which you put the lines, as long as you get the lines correct. Okay, and that's QED. This demonstrates, this whole thing here demonstrates that this is in fact a quantificational sentence, because you can derive it from the rules QS1 through Q7, and those are the things that by definition are the quantificational sentences. Okay, All right, last one. Try this one. C. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to pause and figure out this one on your own. But once again, we're going to get QS1 here. And we're going to do RM, which is QS1 as well. And then, what do you think? Should we join them together? Notice that if we join them together, we would get this construction, which is QS3 on lines 1 and 2. Now, this is a perfectly fine application of QS3. That's not the issue. The issue is that now you can't get these things in there. You can't just sort of sneak them in, right? The not has to be applied to the outside of a construction, right? So instead, what we have to do is we have to do this, not RM, and that's by QS2 on line 2. And then, of course, what we want to do is we want to add that second one. Right, so only one application per line is the rule here. QS2, and this is on line 3 now. All right, so that's QS2 applied to line 3. Then what we can do is we can do QJ and not RM, and that's QS3 on what? You tell me. Lines what? 1 and 4. Okay. And again, this whole thing here, this tree, proves that this construction is in fact a quantificational sentence. Okay? All right, logic fans, make sure you're doing the practice problems to make sure you're understanding all of this. And one last thing that I think I should sort of just point out to you is that the main connective of a quantificational sentence is basically defined the same way that we defined it in chapter 1. It's the connective that appears in the last line of a tree. So the main connective of this particular quantificational sentence is this guy. And it's this guy because that's the logical connective that appears in the last line of its form tree. Okay? And so on, if we were just looking at this sentence by itself, okay, its main connective would be this guy because that's the connective that appears in the last line of its form tree, which looks, like this without the Q1, but there's no harm in it being there. If you just have Q1 all by itself, that's kind of like a brute or an atomic quantificational sentence. It has no main connective. It has no connective in it whatsoever. The main connective of B here, this sentence, is going to be this guy. Why? Because that's the one that appears in the last line of its form tree, as we saw, okay, as the tree that shows that it's a sentence, okay? All right, so what would be the main connective of this sentence? The main connective of this sentence, remember, right, this should be familiar by now, is this. And again, that's the connective that appears in the last line of its tree, okay? So that's what the main connective is and how you identify it. All right, logic fans, we'll catch you on the next videos. Make sure you're getting this stuff down. Getting down the basics of quantificational symbolization is going to go a long ways to understanding this unit.